June 23, 2016. Britain wakes to a seismic shock. The Brexit referendum delivers a narrow 52 to 48% victory for Leave, defying polls, bookies, and even Vote Leave's own subdued expectations. David Cameron, so certain of Remain, had forbidden civil servants from planning for exit. Now he resigns, handing the chaos to successors. Triumphant, yet dazed, Boris Johnson and Michael Gove faced the dawn with uncertainty etched on their faces. The slogan, "Take Back Control," promised sovereignty and prosperity, evoking Norway and Switzerland's cushy non-EU deals. But victory morphs the dream. No more single market, customs union, or Erasmus. Hard Brexit dominates, backed by a fervent press. What follows is a masterclass in unintended consequences: parliamentary gridlock, economic trade-offs, demographic shifts, and a pound that plunges 13% and never recovers. Nearly a decade later, support crumbles among the young, costs mount to 4 to 5% of GDP, and migration irony abounds. Brexit, a cautionary tale of simple votes yielding complex nightmares, where cake-and-eat-it fantasies collide with EU realities. Story. In the crisp dawn of June 24, 2016, the United Kingdom stirred to a result that upended the political order. The Brexit referendum, a gamble by Prime Minister David Cameron to silence Eurosceptic unrest within his Conservative Party, had backfired spectacularly. With 51.9% voting Leave against 48.1% for Remain, the nation chose exit from the European Union, a shock few anticipated. Polls had tilted toward Remain. Even Vote Leave leaders played down their odds to temper expectations. Cameron, buoyed by confidence, had explicitly instructed the civil service not to prepare contingency plans for a Leave outcome. Defeat compelled his immediate resignation, thrusting the Brexit conundrum onto his successors. Brexit means Brexit. Theresa May would later declare upon taking office, but the path forward remained a fog-shrouded void. The morning after, two Vote Leave titans, Michael Gove and Boris Johnson, addressed the press with uncharacteristic restraint. Johnson, the charismatic former London mayor whose bus-borne pledge of £350 million weekly for the NHS had galvanized Leavers, appeared subdued, his trademark bombast muted. Gove, the Justice Secretary and intellectual force behind the campaign, echoed the uncertainty. Pre-referendum, Eurosceptics had romanticized models like Norway and Switzerland, nations outside the EU yet enjoying single market access via the European Economic Area, EEA, or bilateral accords. Take Back Control resonated as a vow to reclaim borders and laws while preserving economic perks. Yet victory hardened resolve. For many, Brexit now demanded full departure from the single market, customs union, Erasmus student exchanges, and Horizon research programs. This hard Brexit found ardent backing in much of the British press, from the Daily Mail to The Sun, which framed compromise as capitulation. The campaign's binary simplicity, Leave or Remain, belied the labyrinthine negotiations ahead. The UK had thrived on bespoke EU membership, opting out of the euro, Schengen border-free zone, and securing a budget rebate. Leavers envisioned cherry-picking anew, perhaps appealing directly to national leaders, like granting German carmakers preferential UK access. But the EU's response was unyielding. Its four freedoms, free movement of goods, services, capital, and people, formed an indivisible core, non-negotiable under Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier. The UK confronted stark trade-offs. Sovereignty meant barriers. Seamless trade required concessions on migration. Theresa May, inheriting the premiership in July 2016, sought to navigate this minefield. Her mantra of a deep and special partnership aimed for frictionless trade without free movement. Yet domestic divisions fractured her approach. To bolster her slim parliamentary majority for a Brexit bill, May called a snap general election in June 2017, expecting a landslide. Instead, the Conservatives lost 13 seats, falling to 317 and relying on a confidence and supply deal with Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, DUP. This coalition of chaos, as opponents dubbed it, complicated matters further, especially on the Irish border. After grueling talks, May unveiled her withdrawal agreement in November 2018, featuring a controversial Northern Ireland backstop to avoid a hard border. Parliament rejected it 3 times, culminating in a record 432-202 defeat in January 2019, the largest government loss in history. MPs cycled through alternatives, a permanent customs union, Common Market 2.0, Norway Plus, a second referendum. None commanded a majority. It was effortless to veto the unacceptable. Forging consensus on a viable path proved elusive. The referendum's clarity had evaporated into procedural paralysis. Compounding the impasse was the dashed hope of a domino effect. Brexiteers anticipated the UK's exit sparking departures elsewhere, pressuring the EU into generous terms to deter copycats. Yet Eurosceptic parties across the continent, from France's National Rally to Italy's Liga, watched closely. The EU, disciplined under leaders like Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron, refused to incentivize defection. No special deals emerged. Chaos in London only bolstered pro-EU sentiment on the mainland, with polls showing rising support in France, Germany, and beyond. By 2019, Boris Johnson seized the premiership, vowing to get Brexit done. He prorogued Parliament, later ruled unlawful, secured a revised deal dropping the backstop for a Northern Ireland-only protocol, and won a December election landslide with 80 seats. The UK departed the EU on January 31, 2020, entering a transition period until December 31st. Formal exit from the single market and customs union followed in 2021 under Johnson's Trade and Cooperation Agreement, a thin deal with zero tariffs but new non-tariff barriers. Economically, immediate catastrophe was averted, confounding Project Fear's dire prophecies of instant recession. The 2016 vote altered little in fundamentals. GDP growth tracked the Eurozone's via purchasing power parity, both lagging the US amid global headwinds. Yet costs accrued stealthily. The pound sterling plummeted 13% post-referendum, lingering weak and inflating imports, food, energy, amid post-COVID inflation spikes. Trade openness declined. Bureaucracy surged with customs declarations. The British Chambers of Commerce reported 92% of firms facing significant challenges, 80% enduring higher import costs. Small and medium enterprises suffered most, some folding under red tape. Business investment slumped from 2016 uncertainties per office for budget responsibility analyses. Farmers decried lost EU subsidies and export hurdles. 69% viewed Brexit negatively. Rigorous studies, from the Centre for European Reform to UK in a Changing Europe, pegged long-term GDP loss at 4 to 5%, shaving 0.2 to 0.3% off annual growth. Cumulatively, this equates to £25,000 per person foregone over 15 years, a subtle drag, imperceptible yearly but compounding in stagnation. Exacerbated by 2020's malaise, record inflation, flat real wages, near 0% growth since 2016, among developed world's worst, Brexit's timing proved unkind. A booming economy might have masked pains. Instead, it amplified vulnerabilities. Migration, a leave cornerstone to control borders, yielded ironies. EU net migration plummeted to near zero post-2021, ending Eastern European inflows drawn by wage gaps. Polls earned a third of UK levels in the 2000s. Yet overall net migration soared to revised 745,000 in 2023, driven by non-EU arrivals, students, workers, refugees from Hong Kong, Ukraine, Afghanistan. Convergence loomed. Polish wages, on trajectory, could match UK's by the late 2030s, diminishing future EU migration pressures naturally. Ironically, British workers might eye Europe. Demographics eroded Brexit's base. In 2023 polls, over 65s backed at 56-36%, 18-24s opposed 70-7%. As older leavers age out and young remainers vote in, support for rejoining climbs annually. Yet re-entry seems distant. The EU, scarred by UK's turbulence, would demand full commitments, no rebates, likely Euro adoption, Schengen participation. Ireland's border saga adds thorns. The Northern Ireland Protocol, with checks in the Irish Sea, preserves Good Friday Agreement peace but irks unionists, fueling unification debates. Scotland, 62% Remain in 2016, saw independent sentiment spike under hard Brexit, though subdued by cost of living crises. Nearly 9 years on, Brexit fervor has waned, eclipsed by NHS waits, inflation, energy bills. It's a parable in binary referendums tackling multifaceted issues with undefined outcomes. Enthusiasm evaporates. The 2016 grievances, immigration, sovereignty, persist unsolved. Relations warm tentatively. Labour's Keir Starmer, Prime Minister since 2024, pursues veterinary deals, youth mobility schemes. Rejoining the EU? Unlikely soon. But customs union or single market rapprochement whispers in policy circles, promising mitigated costs without full reversal. Brexit endures as Europe's deterrent, a nation that voted out, grappled with realities, and found the grass less green. The worst turbulence may have passed, but scars linger, economic, political, demographic. In an interdependent world, absolute control proves illusory. Cooperation, the pragmatic path forward.